Part 89. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 881. Breath of Life. Wu Qingying felt something again and was even more happy. She was absolutely sure that there was really a breath of life. Then, Wu Qingying did nothing, just stood nearby, staring at the blood on the ground attentively, trying to see what changes would happen. Wow! The next moment, under Wu Qingying's gaze, a pool of blood on the ground began to tremble strangely and emit a dense light. Immediately afterwards, the blood light became stronger and stronger, and finally became a bit dazzling, and even accompanied by a powerful force, swept the entire place. Just like that, half a minute later, the blood on the ground formed the shape of a human body. Following this, the power of souls that had been scattered in all directions quickly gathered, and all of them poured into the bloody man. After another dozen seconds, the outline of the bloody man's facial features gradually formed. There was no doubt that it was Su Yang. The secret of rebirth. This is the secret technique of rebirth that Su Yang learned from Shu Gong before. At that time, Su Yang felt that this secret technique was very magical and would definitely be used in the future, so he deliberately learned it. As expected. Today, facing the darkened Wang Yangming, Su Yang already knew that he would not be able to escape. Even if he was unaware, he might not be able to escape through the teleportation array because Wang Yangming had locked onto him. Even if he did successfully step into the teleportation array, it would be of no use as Wang Yangming would definitely catch up. Then, Su Yang gave up escaping and prepared to use the secret technique of rebirth early. This secret technique is indeed powerful. The soul is torn into pieces and the body is turned into blood, but it can still be reorganized. At first, Su Yang didn't realize that Shu Gong was reborn in this way. Therefore, he concluded that Wang Yangming could not detect it, and the facts proved that Su Yang was right. After Wang Yangming killed Su Yang, he did not stop and left the scene directly with Jian Shangxu's body. But Su Yang was afraid that Wang Yangming would return, so he was not in a hurry to reorganize his body and soul. After Wang Yangming left for a while, he chose to be reborn. Su Yang's storage ring was not broken by Wang Yangming. Before he died, he put both the Void Tower and the key to the East Palace into the storage ring. As for the storage ring, he threw it on the ground without leaving a trace. I don't know if Wang Yangming didn't notice it or if he didn't bother to take Su Yang's storage ring. In short, after rebirth, Su Yang found that the storage ring was still on the ground, so he quickly put it on and put on new clothes. Su Yang. When Wu Qingying saw that the person after the blood recombination was Su Yang, she was overjoyed. "You are not dead." Su Yang met Wu Qingying's gaze. Instead of feeling the joy of rebirth, he felt extremely sad. He said with a guilty look on his face, "Senior Wu, I'm sorry, Shuer. You don't need to say any more, I already know." When Wu Qingying heard this, she knew what Su Yang was going to say. The smile on her face stopped suddenly, and she sighed and said, "Hey, Su Yang, I don't blame you for this, and I won't blame you either. You have already I tried my best, but Wang Yangming is just too powerful. Wang Yangming wants to kill Shuer, and no one can stop him. You don't have to blame yourself for this." Wu Qingying looked at Su Yang and said earnestly, "Su Yang, I hope you can cheer up and think not only about yourself but also about Shuer. She knows better and won't want to see you decadent for her." "Well, Senior Wu, don't worry, you don't need to comfort me. I have to be strong in my life, how can I become decadent?" Su Yang said seriously, after a little setback, "I will waste my time and be depressed. That is not my character. I want revenge. I have a clear goal. I will never give up until I kill Wang Yangming in this life." Su Yang said in a deep voice, with overwhelming anger in his eyes, "I will work hard for this." "Su Yang, you." When Wu Qingying heard these words, she immediately persuaded, You said this, and I suddenly don't know how to persuade you. It's important to have goals, but you must not act too hastily. That Wang Yangming was not as strong as me before, but now, he is too terrifying. The pressure he unleashes makes me unable to move. The energy in my body has solidified and cannot be mobilized. Wu Qingying looked at Su Yang and couldn't help but ask, is he at least a quasi-emperor now? No. Su Yang shook his head, then smiled bitterly and said, he is not a quasi-emperor, but a true emperor, and the peak of the emperor. Emperor realm, the pinnacle. After receiving Su Yang's reply, Wu Qingying was shocked and her eyes were filled with astonishment. After she came to her senses, she hurriedly said, Su Yang, you must not rush into revenge. You must think twice before you act. You must not provoke him before you have the strength. Living is more important than anything else. Once you die, there is nothing. At least there is hope for living, Wu Qingying added. Senior Wu, I have my own sense of discretion, Su Yang nodded. That's good. Wu Qingying nodded, and then asked doubtfully, why did this Wang Yangming suddenly become so powerful? He was already very strong, but he hid his weakness in front of him. Su Yang explained, Wang Yangming has been around for countless years and is not a modern person. He has practiced Taoism's one qi transformation into three purities. Although he has not practiced it well, he can still separate two clones. The great terror of Jufeng Mountain is that one of his clones was fused with his body just now. Su Yang continued, there is also the Flame Dragon Immortal Emperor who has been plotting against the earth. I just found out that he is his second clone. Today he fused two clones, and his strength naturally returned to its peak, even stronger than his peak state. After all, the strength of the two clones will increase after fusion. Su Yang said, with his current state, I am afraid that even in my strongest state, I may not be his opponent. This. Wu Qingying was silent for a long time after hearing this, and finally sighed again, hey, forget it, Su Yang, you hide first and talk slowly. Don't be discovered by him or he will kill him. By the way, I'm very curious. Xue has no enmity with him, so why did he want to kill Xue? Wu Qingying suddenly asked in confusion. Senior Wu. Su Yang explained, perhaps you don't know, Xue's origin is not simple. She was the invincible empress in her last life. Her strength is not much weaker than that of Wang Yangming now. Su Yang continued, Wang Yangming was worried that Xue's awakening of the memories of her previous life and her strength returning to its peak would be a constraint for him, so he decided to eradicate it. There's just one thing I can't figure out. Why did he take Xue's body away? Su Yang also had a trace of doubt in his heart, and frowned, today, Xue's soul has been scattered, and she is just a corpse. There is absolutely no possibility of resurrection. What does Wang Yangming want her corpse to do? Su Yang had been thinking about this just now, but unfortunately he couldn't figure it out. Wu Qingying naturally didn't understand either, so she just asked curiously, Su Yang, your soul was scattered just now. Didn't you successfully resurrect it? Why can't Xue do the same? It's because I have practiced the secret technique. Xue doesn't understand the secret technique. Su Yang explained, then shook his head and said, forget it, let's forget about it for now. The top priority now is that I need to improve my strength as soon as possible. Although Su Yang is reborn now, his body is very weak, after all, he has consumed his essence and blood. But fortunately, Su Yang has a strange bloodstone, which is a good thing and can quickly replenish blood essence. Recovering to your previous peak is not difficult and can be done in half an hour at most. But even so, Su Yang only had the strength of the early stage of transcending the tribulation. Facing Wang Yangming, who was at the peak of the imperial realm, he had no power to fight back. The difference was huge. If he wants to compete with Wang Yangming, Su Yang must set foot in the imperial realm, and it is not possible to reach the early imperial realm. At least he must have the late imperial realm, or the peak of the earth realm, so as to ensure that he has the ability to protect himself against Wang Yangming. Wang Yangming has already gone to find the will of heaven, and will soon become the true will of heaven and advance to the imperial realm. By then, it will be even more difficult to deal with. Su Yang must break through to the quasi-emperor in a very short period of time, then advance to the imperial realm, and rush all the way to the late imperial realm. But this is too difficult. Even if Su Yang has a soul and can ignore the bottleneck, the resources that need to be consumed are countless. Even if there are enough resources, it still takes time to absorb and refine them in order to achieve a breakthrough. But it was obviously too late. For the current plan, there is only one way, which is to integrate the memories of 3 generations to restore to peak strength. Naturally, there is no need to be afraid of Wang Yangming. But ever since Su Yang knew the shortcut to becoming stronger, he had been thinking about it, but he had found nothing. It's so difficult. When Su Yang was at a loss what to do, the key to the East Palace in the storage ring suddenly began to vibrate. Su Yang frowned slightly, and with the thought in his mind, the key to the East Mansion came out of the storage ring and floated in mid-air. At the same time, the Void Tower was also shaking, and Su Yang also released the Void Tower. So, at this moment, the Void Tower and the key to the East Mansion, 2 imperial weapons, were suspended in mid-air, shining brightly. Buzz! Buzz! Next, under the watchful eyes of Su Yang, a strange scene happened. The Void Tower and the key to the East Mansion unexpectedly collided together. When the two came into contact, the scene shone brightly, and powerful energy filled the entire underground palace. After about a few minutes, the light gradually weakened and eventually disappeared completely. Subsequently, Su Yang looked over again and found that the Void Tower and the key to the East Mansion were still in contact, and there was also a light pillar the size of a futon directly below. Huh? What's going on? Su Yang frowned slightly. For a moment, he couldn't tell what the emotion was, and he was confused. Both the Void Tower and the key to the East Mansion were once top-level Imperial weapons, not weaker than the previous Heavenly Emperor Sword of the Flame Dragon Immortal Emperor. Such a powerful Imperial weapon naturally has a weapon spirit, but now both Imperial weapons are damaged, so the weapon spirit cannot be awakened. Now that such an abnormal change has occurred, Su Yang can't understand it and can't ask, so he is naturally confused. The spiritual energy in that light pillar seems to be richer than outside. Su Yang, why don't you go in and practice some practice? Wu Qingying suggested. Anyway, your treasure will not harm you. You have recovered from some injuries just now. I see that your injuries are not serious. No matter what crisis there is in the future, you must first recuperate your body. Su Yang nodded, feeling that what Wu Qingying said made sense, especially that the treasure would not be afraid. This sentence tells the key. Then, Su Yang strode under the beam of light, sat cross-legged, then took out the strange bloodstone and the 50,000-year-old medicine and began to absorb it. Because Su Yang was seriously injured, he lost track of time as soon as he absorbed it. He just wants to recover quickly and become stronger quickly, without thinking about anything else. Just like that, time passed by minute by second, and Su Yang forgot everything as he sat down. 100 years. Unknowingly, he finally stepped into the quasi-emperor realm, and the spiritual energy surged in his body. Wu Qingying's expression was a little strange, and she said truthfully, Su Yang, what 100 years? From the time you enter the light pillar to the time you come out, it's only half an hour in total. What does 100 years mean? This time. At this moment. But he did not rush to advance, but slowly explored and settled. It took a long time to reach each level. Su Yang. After Su Yang entered the light pillar, Wu Qingying could no longer see Su Yang and could only see the bright light emitting from the light pillar. Su Yang lifted up the long hair in front of his forehead, his eyes fell on Wu Qingying, and asked anxiously, "Senior Wu, 100 years have passed, what is happening to the earth now? Has Wang Yangming advanced to the imperial realm? My relatives and friends, where is it now?" Su Yang entered the true state of cultivation, forgetting to sleep and eat, focusing on cultivation. He began to hit the small realm of quasi-emperor, the middle stage of quasi-emperor, the late stage of quasi-emperor, the peak of quasi-emperor. Sitting there, I don't know how many years have passed. What about his relatives and friends? Where has Wang Yangming gone? Has he set foot on the imperial realm? Has he become the will of heaven? Has the revival of spiritual energy been completely ended? Next. Su Yang didn't feel anything unusual, he just wanted to become stronger. Although she is not Wang Yangming's opponent, she can still handle it if a blind young person comes. 100 years. Broken. 100 years have passed since my retreat. Slowly, Su Yang's hair and beard grew longer, and his body became covered with dust. It was at this moment that Su Yang suddenly woke up and opened his eyes. In his previous life, he would also practice in seclusion. The time of seclusion was naturally measured in years. Usually, it would start from 10 years, and sometimes it would even last for 100 years. He looked at his clothes, then looked around, and suddenly thought something bad. 100 years have brought great changes. Su Yang reacted, stood up in a hurry, and rushed out of the light beam. Wu Qingying did not leave, but chose to guard him. In the pillar of light, he advanced from the early stage of transcending the tribulation, to the middle stage of the tribulation, to the late stage, to the peak. I don't know how long it took, but Su Yang's clothes began to oxidize and became tattered. Taking another step forward is the imperial realm. Su Yang entered that state, in a daze, deep in seclusion. Something bad is happening. At this moment, the old Wu Qingying, leaning on a cane, stood nearby, looking at Su Yang in surprise, and said in surprise, "Your hair, beard, and clothes, how did you become like this?" Since Su Yang possesses the soul of the immortal emperor, the best thing about him is his understanding of the realm. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 882. Half an hour? Half an hour? Damn it! Only half an hour has passed outside. After hearing Wu Qingying's words, Su Yang was stunned for a moment, and then he became excited. He remembered clearly that he had been in the pillar of light for at least 100 years, and this was absolutely untrue. Nowadays, Su Yang has already reached the pinnacle of quasi-emperor from the early stage of transcending the tribulation. He is only one step away from stepping into the true imperial realm. And this is exactly the effect of practicing in the light pillar for 100 years. From this point, it can be proved that the 100 years in the light pillar is real. But outside, only half an hour had passed. This means that for 1 hour outside, within the light pillar, 200 years. Reduce the flow of time. While excited, Su Yang figured out that the Void Tower and the key to the East Palace, these two pieces of the imperial realm came into contact together, resulting in a qualitative change, and together they created a different space. In the different space, the flow speed of time is shortened countless times. So much so that it achieves the magical effect of 1 hour outside and 200 years in the beam of light. Changing the flow speed of time is the most advanced method. Usually, only some kind of heaven-defying items can have this effect. Su Yang never expected that the Void Tower and the key to the East Mansion could do this. But in this way, the problem will be solved. As long as the light pillar is there, Su Yang will have a lot of time to break through slowly, and there is no need to rush. Now that I have reached the pinnacle of the quasi-emperor, the earth is suppressed by the laws of the emperor. I am on earth, and I am afraid that the chance of advancing to the emperor is very slim. Su Yang quickly reacted and analyzed, but if I can't set foot in the imperial realm, I still don't have the strength to compete with Wang Yangming. What's more, behind Wang Yangming, there is a terrifying will of heaven, which is the strongest person above the imperial realm. For now, I'd better think about the method of integrating the memories of 3 generations. If it doesn't work in 1 year, I'll think about it for 2 years. If it doesn't work in 2 years, I'll think about it in 10 years, 100 years, 200 years, anyway, I have plenty of time. I really can't figure it out, so I'll try to attack the Emperor realm again, go against the will of heaven, and prove the Emperor realm. With the target in mind, Su Yang looked at Wu Qingying and said, "Senior Wu, I may have to enter the light pillar to practice for a few hours. Please help me guard it and don't let anyone get close." "Okay." Wu Qingying nodded and said, "Su Yang, don't worry as my old lady is here, but you have to be careful. Don't act too hastily. Do things slowly, and steadily." Su Yang nodded, then no longer hesitated and entered the light pillar again. With a flash of light, Su Yang's figure disappeared. Su Yang's aura is so strong. How come it's only been half an hour? He seems to be a different person. His aura has become so terrifying. Watching Su Yang disappear, Wu Qingying whispered, "But this is a good thing. I hope that if you come out again, you will gain the strength to compete with Wang Yangming." At the same time, Jiangbei, Dongshan Cave Mansion. In the secret realm of the desolate desert, the heavenly emperor's sword is still flying across the sky, imprisoning time and preventing the recovery of spiritual energy from continuing. Su Wuji, Su Mo, Bai Qi, and Shang Yang were left here and could not get out. Because the heavenly emperor's sword not only imprisoned time, but also sealed the surrounding areas. Unless the strength is too strong, it is impossible to break the seal of the emperor's sword. "Brother, what should we do?" At this time, Bai Qi looked at Shang Yang and asked anxiously. "There is no need to be anxious. Time is limited. We are locked up and can't do anything. It is better to recover from our injuries as soon as possible and try to see if we can go against the will of heaven and hit the imperial realm." Shang Yang said, "No matter how anxious we are, it will not help. We should adjust ourselves. But the flame dragon immortal emperor is chasing your majesty. With your majesty's strength, if you are caught up, you will definitely die," Bai Qi said nervously. "Don't worry, your majesty has his own destiny, and everything will be fine," Shang Yang continued, "we have to believe in your majesty." "Good." Su Mo heard this and said, "Don't worry. As far as I know, back then immortal Emperor Xiantian had deployed formations all over the earth, no less than 1,000. Each of those formations can be connected in series and based on the entire earth. Once activated, terrifying power will burst out." Su Mo continued, "Now, those formations haven't started yet, which means it's not yet time. Su Yang will be fine." "Formation?" Su Wazi asked in confusion, "What formation? Why don't I know it?" "Of course you don't know that you were already in retreat at Wudang Mountain at that time." Su Mo continued, "I was imprisoned in the Void Tower. I followed immortal Emperor Xiantian and traveled all over the world. I spent several years and huge resources on setting up thousands of formations. Many of those resources are in the Xiantian Immortal Emperor's storage ring. They are good things from outside the territory and are extremely precious." Su Mo recalled, at that time, Xiantian Immortal Emperor said that he was Xiantian Immortal Emperor, and all the good things in Xiantian Star territory were in his hands. His cultivation resources alone accounted for nearly 2% of the entire Xiantian Star territory. 10. Then, he took out almost all those resources and arranged thousands of formations, just in case. Su Mo continued, "He also told me that those formations need time to settle, which happens to be 100 years. Once activated by then, it will be extremely powerful. As long as there is enough energy, it can kill even those above the imperial realm. Su Yang is the reincarnation of Zilong and Xiantian immortal emperor. He is the son of luck. When he has to, there will be a voice reminding him how to open the 1,000-seat formation. We don't have to worry about him. Su Mo comforted everyone. That's good. Let's adjust ourselves quickly. Although this heavenly emperor's sword confines time, it is meaningless and will not allow us to gain more time. As Suwuji spoke, he sat cross-legged and began to use the selfless magic skill, and said confidently, "Isn't it just going against the will of heaven? I'm good at this. I have ignored the ominous situation, and I still don't take it seriously even if it is just suppressed by the imperial realm. Imperial realm, Suwuji, must break the oppression and set foot in the imperial realm." Suwuji cheered himself up, then closed his eyes and started practicing. Seeing this, Su Mo, Bai Qi, and Shang Yang also entered a state of cultivation. And just then, Jiangbei, Su family manor. Wang Yangming, wearing a purple robe, suddenly appeared and stood in front of Li Feixuan. Wang Yangming. Li Feixuan is waiting eagerly for Su Yang to come back, feeling very anxious in her heart. As a result, Su Yang did not arrive, but Wang Yangming did. Very good. Li Feixuan looked at Wang Yangming, very excited, and asked hurriedly, "Wang Yangming, what happened over there in Dongshan? Has the spiritual energy been revived successfully?" Su Yang said, "You counted everything, could you help me do the math?" "How is Su Yang doing?" Li Feixuan asked continuously. "Empress Qing Huang." Wang Yangming interrupted directly and said in a calm tone, "You have too many questions. Now is not the time to talk about these." Empress Qing Huang. When Li Feixuan heard what Wang Yangming called her, she was stunned and asked with surprise, "Wang Yangming, are you talking to me?" "Right." Wang Yangming looked at Li Feixuan seriously, nodded, and did not deny it. "What Queen Qing Huang? I'm not me, and I don't know her either." "Are you mistaken?" Li Feixuan asked in confusion. "No, I'm not mistaken, you are the Qing Huang Empress." Wang Yangming stared at Li Feixuan and said firmly, "Li Feixuan, do you want to know your last life?" "Wang Yangming, what do you mean?" Li Feixuan frowned and said, "What the hell are you going to say in the last life?" He. Wang Yangming showed a smile and then said, "Li Feixuan, you are the most powerful person in the world. You are at the peak of the imperial realm, and you are only one step away from the imperial realm. Looking at the universe, billions of miles of stars, and 3,000 star fields, there are very few people who are qualified to be your opponent." Wang Yangming continued, "You must have heard some news about Su Yang. Actually, Su Yang was the Xiantian immortal emperor in his last life, and his life's goal is to follow in your footsteps, because you once saved Su Yang and left a deep impression on him." Wang Yangming continued, "But you are too powerful. You were so powerful that Su Yang never caught up with you in his entire life. Many interesting things happened between you. I won't mention the specific details. In short, after meeting Su Yang, you, the proud daughter of heaven and the invincible empress, fell in love and became confused." Wang Yangming looked at Li Feixuan and smiled softly. "There are about 3,000 star fields in the endless universe. Each star field will have the will of heaven above the imperial realm. One day, a powerful will of heaven found you and wanted you to succeed her and become the new will of heaven to guard that powerful star field. In exchange, he will apply for the opportunity to open the heavenly gate for you, allowing you to be promoted to the level of the emperor." Wang Yangming continued, "But you refused. You didn't want to join that mysterious force and become their lackey, so you were targeted by the will of heaven. The will of heaven, you can understand it as a position. Once you become the will of heaven, you cannot arbitrarily wipe out the creatures in the star field unless the other party violates the rules. If the will of heaven dares to kill the invincible indiscriminately and slaughter all living beings, he will definitely be punished by the mysterious forces, which can range from being suppressed for 10,000 years to being driven to pieces in the worst case. Wang Yangming continued, therefore, the will of heaven in that star field cannot kill you, but it targets you everywhere, so that you have nothing to hide. So, you came to earth, firstly to avoid the will of heaven, and secondly to find Su Yang. You want to see if Su Yang's plan can really break the rules. Wang Yangming met Li Feixuan's gaze and said seriously, now that the opportunity is before you, Qing Huang Empress, are you willing to help Su Yang? What are you talking about? Why don't I hear anything different? Li Feixuan frowned. You don't have to understand. Wang Yangming smiled and said, you just need to tell me if you are willing to help Su Yang. How is Su Yang now? Why does he need my help? Li Feixuan asked. He is dead, Wang Yangming said calmly. What? Li Feixuan's eyes were red, and she said sadly, Su Yang, you are dead, and I don't want to live anymore. I will go down to accompany you right now. Good. But at this moment, Wang Yangming had a thought in his mind, but without taking action, a powerful force surged out and stopped Li Feixuan. What are you doing? Li Feixuan roared. Wang Yangming met Li Feixuan's eyes and said seriously, you listen to my arrangements, I will work with you to obliterate the will of heaven, avenge Su Yang, and then start to revive the spiritual energy, thus breaking the ominous suppression. If Su Yang knows anything under the spring, must be very gratifying. Whether I am dead or alive, there is no need for you to meddle in my own business, just go away, Li Feixuan said coldly. Okay, then you die, and let Su Yang's last wish fall into dust, and let him never rest in peace. The spiritual energy is revived and the ominous situation is broken. Since Su Yang has the world in his heart and has sacrificed his life for it, I will naturally not stand by and watch. As long as I can help, I will do my best. Now Li Feixuan's mind was blank, and she was like a corpse. Even if others spoke in her ear, she could not hear them, and her head was buzzing. I promise you. This news was like a bolt from the blue, making it difficult for Li Feixuan to accept it for a while. Good. At the end of his speech, Wang Yangming sighed, then turned to leave. This morning, she was still with Su Yang, talking and laughing, but now Su Yang was torn apart. Died. Reviving the spiritual energy will break the ominous situation, allowing monks all over the world to advance unscrupulously, Wang Yangming said. You don't know this person, but you will soon know that he is the will of heaven. Recalling the sweet scenes of the two people together, Li Feixuan was in pain. Stop. At this moment, Li Feixuan suddenly stood up from the ground, her eyes fell on Wang Yangming, took a deep breath, and asked coldly, what is Su Yang's last wish? Seeing this, Wang Yangming showed a meaningful smile, and then took Li Feixuan into the imperial weapon, and her figure suddenly disappeared. You can't die now, Wang Yangming said calmly. Li Feixuan stared at Wang Yangming, with a rare fierce light in her eyes, and asked in a deep voice, Wang Yangming, you just mentioned the murderer who killed Su Yang, tell me who that person is, I must let him eye for eye. As long as you are willing, I will restore you to your peak combat effectiveness, Wang Yangming said seriously. Li Feixuan agreed without any hesitation. When Li Feixuan heard the news, her pupils quickly dilated and she collapsed to the ground. After she realized what she was doing, she burst into tears and was heartbroken. Can I do it? Li Feixuan asked. He's already dead, how can I help him? Su Yang is dead. Wang Yangming continued, also, let his murderer live happily, hey. With this thought in her mind, Li Feixuan mobilized her strength and gathered it in her palms, wanting to kill herself. Wang Yangming obviously anticipated Li Feixuan's emotional state and was not surprised. Instead, he said seriously, just wake up. Su Yang is dead when he is dead. People cannot be resurrected after death, but you can help him. Boom. Empress Jing Huang. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 883. At the same time, too many things happened all over the world. Kunlun Mountains. Prodigies from many famous mountains lined up in long lines and entered the starry sky ancient road one after another. Su Shenbing, Su Qincan, Su Jingguo and others did not pay attention to this matter. They had already decided that they would not leave the earth and would live and die with Su Yang. At this moment, everyone in the Su family is practicing in seclusion, seizing every minute and every second to strengthen themselves. Master, Master. At this moment, Su Qing'ai suddenly appeared and greeted Su Qincan respectfully, almost getting the title wrong. 100 years ago, he was Su Wuji's subordinate and disciple. When he saw Su Qincan, he would always call him young master. After all, Su Qincan was young at that time. For a young man in his teens or 20s, it was very appropriate to call him young master. But things are different now. Su Qincan is already very old and has sons, grandsons, and even great-grandchildren. It was really not appropriate to call him young master at this time, so Su Qing'ai changed her name to master, but sometimes she made a slip of the tongue. Su Qing'ai, you have known me for many years, there is no need to be so polite between us. Su Qincan nodded and said. Rules are rules, subordinates dare not exceed them. Su Qing'ai said seriously. You guy. Su Qincan pointed at Su Qing'ai and said, forget it, you guy who accepts death, what do you want to do with me? Master, a beautiful woman in her 30s came outside. She said her surname was Shi and she came here to find his man. Su Qing'ai said truthfully. Swish. As soon as these words came out, Su Jingguo and Su Shenbing, who were both in retreat in the secret room, all looked at Su Qincan. This has nothing to do with me. When Su Qincan heard this, he stood up nervously and hurriedly explained, I don't know her, not at all. She must have nothing to do with me. My whole life is pure and clean, upright, and upright. I have never done anything to regret my late wife, Su Qincan explained nervously. Master. Su Qing'ai's face suddenly darkened, and she whispered, I didn't say she came to see you. The beautiful woman named her. He wants to find Su Shenbing. Call. When Su Qincan heard this, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief, patted his chest and said seriously, it scared me to death. I'm just saying, they can't be looking for me. Wait. Su Qing'ai, you just said who that woman came to see, please say it again. Look for Su Shenbing. Su Qing'ai said truthfully. Fuck. Beautiful woman, look for Su Shenbing. When Su Qincan heard this, he immediately became furious. He turned around and stared at Su Shenbing. At the same time, he pulled out his belt and said through gritted teeth, Shenbing, you can do it? You have enough fun and you are very brave. We have only moved to Kunlun Mountain for a short time, and you already have a lover, and she is a beautiful woman. You have unique vision, you have unique insight, you are so capable, why don't you go to heaven? Su Qincan said bitterly, my daughter-in-law Shi Yuyan gave birth to 2 children for you. She works hard in the Su family, both inside and outside, in the hall and in the kitchen. She has paid so much for the Su family. She has only been gone for 5 years, and now you can't help but find another woman. Hateful. Su Qincan gritted his teeth and said, you know how long your mother has been gone. You were only a teenager at that time. After so many years, do you see me finding a woman? Decades, do you know how I have lived these decades? How lonely I am, how lonely I am, I don't even have anyone around me who can warm my bed and talk to me. She has been back to Kunlun Mountain for a few days, but she has never noticed that the conversation between her father and grandpa is so exaggerated. But, okay. As he spoke, Sukyankin became angry and raised the belt high and pulled it off fiercely. As for Sujingwo, she was completely dumbfounded and stood there blankly, not knowing what to say for a while. Coming. Women, did you hear it? Su Shenbing touched the bridge of his nose and said with a wry smile, you are angry because you didn't find a woman, but I did. You feel unhappy and feel that you are at a loss, right? Father. Uh-huh. But, I managed to get through it, and I have never done anything to be sorry for your mother. Shi Yuyan is here. When Su Shenbing heard this, he immediately became unhappy and hurriedly retorted, you said it's okay for me to watch a short movie, but when did I drag you to watch Bikini Outstanding? Don't you insist on watching it? Uh-huh. Father. This made it difficult for him to adapt. It's just that Shi Yuyan went to Kong Ancient Road for a walk, so she didn't come to see her family until now. Oh, you were careless. Su Shenbing held his forehead, feeling regretful in his heart. After all, he still had not plotted against his father. She passed through the teleportation array and arrived at Kunlun Mountain half an hour ago. Sukyankin caught the clue in Su Shenbing's words and said quickly, your dad admitted that he likes watching short movies. While Sukyankin was talking, he suddenly realized what he was saying and said angrily, Wang Ji, what nonsense are you talking about? How could I be full of yearning for that kind of thing? Hearing Shi Yuyan's voice, Su Shenbing, Su Jingguo and Sukyankin all looked over immediately. Sukyankin said angrily, but you did it, and now a beautiful woman comes to your door. Damn it! Uh-huh. Today, if I don't teach you, this rebellious son, a lesson, let you know the rules of the Su family. Sukyankin looked at Su Jingguo, exposed Su Shenbing ruthlessly, and said, you are a girl. Under normal circumstances, it is not convenient for me to tell you many things. Hey, I'm really ashamed to talk about this kind of thing. It's so embarrassing. The Su family has been completely embarrassed by him. At this moment, a woman in a white dress suddenly appeared, walked over leisurely, and said with an unhappy face, you actually cheated on me while I was away, watching that behind my back movie, you disappoint me so much. But today's matter has come to an end. I don't think it's okay to say it. You don't know. Your dad is a prude. In the dead of night, he often hides in his room alone and watches movies. Yes, you are so enviable. Thinking back to your father and me over the past few decades, it makes me miserable. Woman, it seems that you have a deep misunderstanding of your father. In fact, he is just pretending in front of you. Su Jingguo, who was next to him, stood up, grabbed the belt, and said comfortingly with a smile, Grandpa, don't worry, it's not too late to ask the matter clearly before calling. I don't think my dad is that kind of person. Su Shenbing. I'm angry because you have been immoral, ruined the Su family's family tradition, and discredited the Su family. It's so infuriating. Sukyankin continued, not only that, he also watches talent shows, the kind of beauties in bikinis, twisting and turning. He just wants to watch it himself. The key is that he pulls me to watch. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 884. Familiar. Naturally, they would not forget Shi Yuyan's voice, so they were extremely excited. Yuyan. Su Shenbing's eyes suddenly lit up, he ran out of the secret room, strode towards Shi Yuyan, and wanted to hug his wife tightly. Stop. But Shi Yuyan raised her arm, reached out to stop Su Shenbing, and asked, Su Shenbing, you have cheated on me, and you still have the nerve to hug me. When did I cheat? Wife, you must not listen to my father's nonsense. I am innocent and have never found a second woman. I can swear to God, Su Shenbing said seriously. Didn't you find a second one? Shi Yuyan said coldly, so, you found a third, a fourth, a fifth? No. Su Shenbing said firmly, wife, you have to believe me, I am innocent. Snored. Shi Yuyan didn't buy it. Even if you are not looking for a woman, if you watch a short movie, cheating mentally is also cheating. Su Shenbing, do you admit it? I. Su Shenbing was a little confused, but what Shi Yuyan said made sense, and he had no reason to refute. I admit it, but, wife, I have needs in this area and they must be solved. Tch, I won't listen to those explanations. Anyway, you cheated on me and I won't forgive you. Shi Yuyan hugged her arms, like an unreasonable young lady, and said seriously, but, I can examine you again and see how you perform in the future. If you perform well in the future, maybe I will consider it. Such a gesture. When Su Shenbing and Shi Yuyan first met, Shi Yuyan had this attitude. The unreasonable eldest lady lost to Su Shenbing and was not convinced, so she pestered Su Shenbing and wanted to fight again, but in the end she got involved. When Su Shenbing saw his wife's gesture, he instantly realized that his wife was joking with him, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, wife, how dare you play tricks on me, let's see how I deal with you. Su Shenbing hugged Shi Yuyan directly and kissed me, which was very sweet. Su Jingguo, who was in the distance, also showed a smile. She didn't expect to see her parents showing off their affection. It's a lifetime series. But this loving scene was very unfriendly to Su Qinqin, who had been alone and widowed for most of his life. He said with a dark face, okay, okay, okay. You have to consider the feelings of an old man like me. Can you please stop hugging me? As soon as these words came out, Su Shenbing and Shi Yuyan felt a little embarrassed, and their faces turned slightly red. Mom. Immediately afterwards, Su Jingguo ran over, pulled Su Shenbing away, and then hugged Shi Yuyan. Good daughter. Shi Yuyan hugged Su Jingguo tightly, her eyes were slightly red, and she choked with sobs and said, after 5 years of separation, you have changed so much that I almost don't recognize you. The 18th change of women. Su Jingguo's head rested on Shi Yuyan's shoulder. Yeah, she's getting more and more beautiful. Shi Yuyan smiled softly. Yuyan, why did you come here suddenly? What's the matter, at this time? Su Qinqin asked, or are you going to set foot on the ancient road in the starry sky? It's true, it's business. When Shi Yuyan heard this, she became serious and said seriously, I am here mainly to persuade you to enter the ancient starry sky road and leave the earth. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the Su family changed. They were obviously reluctant, mainly because they were worried about Su Yang. But, however, Shi Yuyan analyzed the stakes and advised them to go outside the territory and keep the green hills without fear of running out of firewood. Finally, Shi Yuyan made a decision and decided to let Su Jingguo go to the outside world via the starry sky ancient road, while the rest of the Su family stayed in Kunlun Mountain. The world's structure has undergone great changes due to the revival of spiritual energy. But there are people in many places around the world who remain unmoved. They stick to their mission and activate the formations they are responsible for when called upon. Time passes quickly. Before I knew it, it was already the second day. At the foot of Jufeng Mountain, in the palace. Su Yang has been practicing in the light pillar for 5 hours, which is a full 1,000 years when converted into the time in the light pillar. For this 1,000 years, Su Yang neither ate nor drank, and kept sitting cross-legged in meditation. Period. He spent 500 years trying to understand how to integrate the memories of 3 generations, but unfortunately he found nothing. After fusing the memories of 3 generations, Su Yang had no clue at all, and there was no way to start. Certainly. These 500 years are not wasted. Su Yang broke through too quickly before. In 500 years, his realm has become extremely solid. there must be no one in the same realm who can be his opponent. In the next 500 years, Su Yang began to go against the will of heaven, wanting to break the suppression of the imperial realm and come to the imperial realm. Only by becoming the second emperor of the earth can one be able to fight against Wang Yangming. The emperor's suppression of the earth is indeed powerful. Even if he is in the beam of light formed by the Void Tower and the key of the East Mansion, he will still be suppressed by Wang Yangming's emperor. Simply speaking, in the last 500 years, Su Yang had made some small achievements and now has gained great power. Although it is still worse than when he was at his peak, when he meets Wang Yangming, he will not lose miserably, and there is even room for maneuver. Aha! Suddenly, at a certain moment, Su Yang opened his eyes and ended his 1,000-year practice. Su Yang, did you succeed? Seeing Su Yang walking out of the beam of light, Wu Qingying hurried forward to ask, her eyes full of hope. Su Yang nodded and went into seclusion for thousands of years. After coming out of seclusion, his whole temperament had undergone tremendous changes. Senior Wu, leave the next thing to me. I will make the murderer of Shuer pay with his blood, pay with blood. Su Yang. Wu Qingying reminded her earnestly, don't be rash. As I said before, think twice before you act. I see. Su Yang nodded and was about to say something else. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Su Yang, Kunlun Mountain, beside the Hunyuan Formation, I want to discuss a cooperation with you. Moving his eyes to look over, Su Yang found that there was a middle-aged man in Xingyi behind him. The teleportation array was activated, and soon, Su Yang appeared in Kunlun Mountain and walked out of the teleportation array. The will of heaven. Before Su Yang had time to reminisce with his family, the voice of God's will came to his ears. Heaven's will? Su Yang asked with a frown. Su Yang's family are all in Kunlun Mountain, so after thinking about it, he did not activate the teleportation formation to Kunlun Mountain. The voice sounded again. Now, I would like to extend an invitation to you again, Su Yang, are you willing to take over from me? The man in green said seriously. It doesn't make any sense whether I am willing or not. You have already found a replacement, Su Yang said in a calm tone. He could feel the gap between himself and Yamian, so he did not take action rashly. Also, if he goes to Kunlun Mountain, although Wang Yangming will most likely not be able to kill himself, he will take action against other people in Kunlun Mountain. The man in green looked at Su Yang and smiled softly, I want them to succeed me and become the will of heaven, but unfortunately, they don't agree. Yamian smiled and said, besides, it is your honor to be chosen by me. In this life, do you agree? After hearing this, Yamian shook his head and said, that person is too thoughtful and I don't like him very much. Su Yang, there are countless geniuses on earth, but you are the only one who can be chosen by me. After saying goodbye to Wu Qingying, Su Yang opened the teleportation array and headed directly to Kunlun Mountain. At that time, just in case, Su Yang planned to use the Hunyuan formation, hoping to protect himself at the critical moment. The man in Xingyi smiled and said, or you can call me Yamian, to encourage you. Good. Su Yang's eyes suddenly became sharp. After thinking about it, he decided to go over and find out. You're talking about Wang Yangming, right? The man in green nodded and said, all the wills of heaven are the strongest cultivators. There are cultivators and ancient warriors. Yamian. Su Yang frowned slightly, not knowing who had invited him to discuss cooperation. Buzz. You came. This voice is very unfamiliar. Su Yang not only deployed teleportation arrays in Jufeng Mountain, but also in Kunlun Mountain. I am the will of heaven as Wang Yangming said, and I will wait for you in Kunlun Mountain. I won't say much more about this. Su Yang, I know your origin. In your first two lives, you were both amazing and talented, and you received my invitation in both of them. Because Su Yang can enter the Hunyuanwuji formation, but others cannot. But later, Su Yang wanted to fake his death to escape, making Wang Yangming think that he was dead, so he could relax his vigilance. He was dressed like a scholar, with an elegant temperament, and looked at Su Yang with a smile. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 885. Do you agree? After hearing Yamian's words, Su Yang fell into silence, with thousands of thoughts in his mind. He has refused several times, and neither the first-generation ancestral dragon nor the second-generation Xiantian immortal emperor agreed. In this life, according to his nature, how could he give up? Only. Su Yang knew very well that once he refused, he would most likely be obliterated by the will of heaven. But he had no power to fight back. After all, the opponent's realm was above the imperial realm, and his strength far exceeded his own. Su Yang, you don't need to answer, I already know what you are thinking. Seeing this, Yamian smiled softly and said, Xiaolong doesn't agree, Immortal Emperor Xiantian doesn't agree, and you, Su Yang, will definitely not agree either. However, what I want to tell you is that you only have two choices, either death or life. Succeed me, become the will of heaven, and be equal to me. We will be colleagues from now on, and you will have an endless lifespan. Yamian continued, the second option is to reject me. Don't worry, I won't kill you, but that's not necessarily the case for Wang Yangming. Today, I must choose a successor. If you don't agree, I have no choice but to choose Wang Yangming. I can see that you have already reached the late stage of the imperial realm. With Wang Yangming's current strength, it will be a little difficult to kill you, but it can be done. Yamian smiled and said, if I open the heavenly gate and help him set foot on the imperial realm, then it will be extremely easy for him to kill you. In the end, there is only death, and there is no other possibility for you. Life or death, I'll give you another chance to choose. I hope you won't let me down, Yamian said calmly, while his expression became serious. If I succeed you and become the will of heaven, can my relatives and friends escape the destruction of the era? Su Yang asked at this time. Cannot. Yamian replied seriously, no one can escape the destruction of the era. Of course, as the will of heaven and the initiator of the destruction of the era, you can survive. Can't you survive if you run outside the territory? Su Yang asked again. Right. Yamian said, as long as you are born on the earth, you will be marked by the earth. No matter you hide outside the territory or in a high-level dimensional space, you cannot escape the destruction of the era. In the vast sky, only those who have reached the emperor level or above can survive the destruction of the era. Yamian continued, if you want to advance to the imperial realm or above, you can only open the heavenly gate with the permission of our organization. Therefore, Su Yang, joining our organization is an extremely correct choice for you. My relatives and friends are dead, how can I live alone? Su Yang heard this and asked disdainfully. What does that mean? No emotion can stop the invasion of time. Yamian said seriously, family affection, love, friendship, and even sexual affection, over time, will slowly disappear and eventually nothing will remain. Besides, after the era is over, you are still alive. You can wait for the era to open, re-establish a family, make friends, and experience a new life. Yamian looked at Su Yang and said sadly, but I believe that after experiencing it a few times, you will no longer have such thoughts, because you will see through everything and participate in the so-called feelings. This is just the feeling you think you have. Don't use your views on feelings to judge me. Su Yang said coldly, Yamian, let me tell you clearly now that I reject your request. He. When Yamian heard this, his expression also turned cold, and he said in a deep voice, I already guessed that you would reject me, but I didn't expect that the reason for your rejection would be exactly the same as in the previous two lives. When you were in your first life, I showed up and asked you if you were willing to succeed me and become a true immortal, controlling the earth forever without worrying about the change of dynasties. You refused. The reason was that after the end of the era, there was no point in living alone, so you went outside the territory to pursue a glimmer of hope. I didn't stop you, but I couldn't figure it out. Yamian wondered, what kind of person are you? Are there really people in this world who choose to give up the memory of eternal life for the sake of their relatives and friends? I didn't understand, so instead of stopping you, I gave you a helping hand and pushed you into the chaos of time and space, sending you to a star field 100,000 years ago. Now you name it the Xiantian star field. Yamian continued, at that time, I took away part of your memory to see what choices you would make if you reached the top again. You really did not disappoint me. You have once again reached the top. The heavenly will of Xiantian star territory is my junior brother and has a very good relationship with me. I entrusted him to test you, but in the end you still gave up resolutely because you could not let go of your family ties. Join our organization. Yamian continued, I still can't understand. You made me lose face, so I let the heavenly will of Xiantian star territory secretly lead you into the 9 nether hell. I hid there and took away your Xiantian immortal emperor's power. Part of the memory traps you in the 9 nether hells. I thought you would be sealed forever, but I never expected that you would return to Earth and even regain your peak strength. Did you extract the memories of my 2 lives? Su Yang asked coldly. Good. Yamian smiled softly and said, you have returned to Earth. This is my jurisdiction. I control everything here. Then Wang Yangming jumped out. I watched you tit for tat and ignored it. Yamian continued, I disdain and don't want to pay attention to it, because I really don't like Wang Yangming. You are more upright than him. He is too villainous. I don't like it, so I give you opportunities again and again. When Yamian said this, his face darkened and he said coldly, what a pity, you rejected me again. This time, I am very angry. My time on Earth is over and it's time to end this. Since you don't agree, then I have no choice but to find Wang Yangming to take over. After the words fell, Yamian shouted to the sky, Wang Yangming, get out of here. Buzz. The next moment, a hole was torn open in the sky by a hand, and then Wang Yangming walked out of the crack. Greetings to Senior Yet. After arriving next to Yamian, Wang Yangming knelt down, his expression full of awe and piety, exactly like a dog. Yamian nodded, then looked at Su Yang and sneered, Su Yang, have you seen it? This is your attitude towards me and his attitude towards me. He is like my dog. He was originally not suitable to be my colleague, but you forcefully pushed this opportunity to him. Yamian smiled softly and said, it's still too late for you to regret it now. Don't even think about it, Su Yang said coldly, I have never regretted the decision I made. Huh, stubborn. Yamian said angrily, Wang Yangming, I will open the Tianmen immediately. The Tianmen will last for half an hour. You must quickly break through to the Imperial realm. Remember, there are many rules for opening the heavenly gate. I have been on Earth for hundreds of thousands of years, and I only have one chance to open it, and it can only be opened for half an hour. If you can't set foot on the Imperial realm within half an hour, it means you don't have enough opportunities. You should die there. Yamian said coldly, and then waved his hand, and there was a rumbling sound in the sky. Tianmen. It's on. This is an opportunity to advance to the Imperial realm. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 886. At this moment, high in the sky, a circular black hole appeared in the sky, with stars rotating inside, exuding endless charm. This is Tianmen. As long as you step into the Tianmen, you will have the opportunity to step onto the imperial realm. Tianmen. When Wang Yangming saw the Tianmen open, his eyes showed strong excitement. I have been waiting for a day, and I have been waiting for too long. I didn't expect that now, I will finally see the Tianmen. Senior Ye, thank you for your support. I will definitely live up to expectations and set foot on the imperial realm. Wang Yangming looked at Ye Mian gratefully and said respectfully, when I set foot in the imperial realm, I will definitely manage the earth well and only obey your orders. Ye Mian smiled softly and said, although I don't like you, I have to say that your flattery makes me feel very comfortable. Having a dog like you is not a bad thing. Thank you, Senior Ye, for your recognition. It's an honor for me to be Senior Ye's dog, Wang Yangming said piously. Ha ha. Ye Mian smiled with satisfaction, and then said, Wang Yangming, don't be too happy, you only have half an hour, go in quickly. Although the heavenly gate is open, some people who enter the heavenly gate will not be able to advance to the level of the emperor. I think you have a good chance. With accumulated experience, you should be able to succeed. Just work harder. Ye Mian said, if you fail, it will be a great loss for me. Even if you come out alive, I will not let you go. Yes. Then, I will go in first, please wait for the good news, Senior Ye. Wang Yangming clasped his fists respectfully, said goodbye, and jumped into the Tianmen. Boom. Then, there was a roar from the Tianmen, accompanied by lightning and thunder, and the movement was very loud. Wang Yangming. Su Yang watched Wang Yangming enter the Tianmen, his expression slightly complicated, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Su Yang, you have no chance. At this time, Ye Mian looked at Su Yang and smiled softly, when Wang Yangming comes out, it will be your death. Don't even think about saying goodbye to your family. I've sealed this place. I won't let you get what you want. Just as you refused to replace me, you didn't let me get what I wanted. Ye Mian was very vindictive and stared at Su Yang coldly, trying to find a sense of revenge from Su Yang. But, unfortunately, Su Yang ignored Ye Mian and sat cross-legged with his eyes slightly closed. Seeing this, Ye Mian frowned slightly and said coldly, Su Yang, what are you pretending to be now? Do you really think someone can save you? Why not? Su Yang raised his eyebrows, confident. He. Ye Mian sneered and said, those helpers around you have not even set foot in the imperial realm. How can they fight against Wang Yangming, let alone me who is standing by now? Don't rely on them, just rely on yourself, haha, it's even more ridiculous. Wang Yangming, who is above the imperial realm, can kill you with just a raise of his hand. Hearing this, Su Yang did not explain, but silently operated the technique as if no one was around. Snort. Let's see how arrogant you can be. Ye Mian snorted coldly and simply stood aside, waiting for Wang Yangming's results. Just like that, 20 minutes later. Accompanied by a loud noise in the sky, Wang Yangming walked out of the Tianmen. The aura around him was extremely terrifying and powerful, and he seemed to be a completely different person. There is no doubt that he succeeded. Above the imperial realm. Now, Wang Yangming has set foot on the imperial realm and finally touched the realm of the will of heaven. Wang Yangming, yes, you succeeded. In this regard, you really did not disappoint me. Ye Mian smiled, then pointed at Su Yang and said coldly, kill him now, and I will give you the belt of the will of heaven. By then, you will be a member of our organization. Good. When Wang Yangming heard this, he didn't hesitate at all. He immediately mobilized all his strength and suddenly killed Su Yang. Su Yang, on the other hand, sat on the same spot without even frowning and without any intention of fighting back. Sit back and wait for death. He. Su Yang, I guess I misjudged you. Yamian sneered again and again, obviously extremely disappointed with Su Yang, and believed that Su Yang would definitely die. But at this moment, Wang Yangming suddenly changed the direction of his attack and charged directly at Yamian with overwhelming power. Yamian naturally noticed it, was slightly confused, and then slapped him. Boom! After a muffled sound, a terrifying aftermath of the battle spread out in all directions. Immediately afterwards, Wang Yangming did not fall back, but landed firmly on the ground. It was obvious that he was not at a disadvantage. As for Yamian, he also did not retreat and stood there staring at Wang Yangming coldly. Wang Yangming, how dare you attack me? Yamian roared angrily. He. Wang Yangming heard this and said righteously, Yamian, you have misjudged me. I am a hero of the earth. I have lived here for countless years. How could I follow others and choose to collude with you for my own sake? All I have done is just to use your hand to set foot on the imperial realm. Wang Yangming stated his purpose. As for Su Yang, he stood up at this time, with no surprise on his face, because he had already guessed all this. Brother Su, you are so calm. It seems that my acting skills are too poor to fool you, Wang Yangming said with a smile. No. Su Yang shook his head and smiled softly, you did a good job. You are not allowed to do it again next time. It makes me want to strangle you to death. But later, I practiced for 1,000 years in another dimension and figured out a lot of things. Su Yang continued, my great-great-grandfather once said that the only person you can trust on this earth is you, Wang Yangming. This sentence was said by my previous life, the immortal Emperor Xiantian. I believe that at my peak, I would not misjudge anyone. However, at first, I couldn't understand why you wanted to kill Qianqinsha, but later I figured it out. Su Yang continued, perhaps this is Xue'er's method of merging the memories of two lives. At that time, although my method of feigning death to escape was brilliant, you were already at the peak of the imperial realm and should not be able to detect my aura, but you still left and said a bunch of incomprehensible words before leaving. Su Yang smiled softly and said, combined with these, if I can't guess your intention again, then I am stupid. Ha ha. Wang Yangming looked at Su Yang and said as if to show off, Brother Su, let's not talk about this for now. You don't know that people who are above the imperial realm are really strong. I feel completely refreshed. You still have 10 minutes. The heavenly gate will open in 10 minutes. You must enter the heavenly gate quickly. It took the three of us 20 minutes to set foot on the imperial realm. Don't let me look down on you. 10 minutes should be enough for you, right? Wang Yangming said with a smile. Enough. Su Yang raised his head, stared at Tianmen, and said solemnly, it can't be used up. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Yang rose into the sky and headed straight for Tianmen. Stop. Did I let you in? At this moment, Yamian suddenly took action and wanted to kill Su Yang. Su Yang broke the rules and forced his way into Tianmen. He deserves to be killed. Your opponent is me. However, Wang Yangming stood up and stood in front of Su Yang, stopping Yamian. Wang Yangming. Yamian was furious and said through gritted teeth, you betrayed me, and I haven't settled this debt with you yet. Now you dare to stop me, are you looking for death? You have just set foot on the imperial realm, and the realm is not yet stable, but I have already set foot on the imperial realm for 100,000 years. How can you compare with me? Yamian asked confidently. He can't do it alone, so what if I'm included? Suddenly, a woman wearing a white dress flew out of the Tianmen and stood side by side with Wang Yangming. The person who came was none other than Li Fixuan, with fluttering white clothes and a calm temperament, as if she had stepped onto the imperial realm. And I. At the same time, another woman was brought out from the Tianmen. She was wearing a light blue dress, as cold as ice, and her beautiful face was astonishing. Thousands of mountains of snow. Qian Shangxiu was resurrected. No, to be precise, she did not die, she just entered another state. Su Yang had guessed well before that Qian Shangxiu's method of merging the memories of two lives was to break and then build. Now, Qian Shangxiu has set foot on the imperial realm, and her strength is the same as Wang Yangming and Li Feixuan. Empress Qing Huang. Xian Yuan God. Yamian obviously knew Li Feixuan and Qian Shangxiu, and said in surprise, "How could you two walk out of the Tianmen?" "Haha, of course this is all thanks to me." Wang Yangming smiled softly and said, "I have worked so hard to please you, and I have become your dog. After paying such a high price, I can't be the only one to set foot on the imperial realm. Then wouldn't I suffer a big loss?" King. Positive. Bright. Yamian was furious and roared at the top of his lungs, "I'm going to kill you. Sisters, let's fuck him together and buy time for Su Yang," Wang Yangming said. Without his reminder, Li Feixuan and Qian Shangxiu had already rushed out and fought with Yamian. Wang Yangming followed closely and joined the battle. In this way, the three of them faced Yamian together, but the result was somewhat unsatisfactory. Yamian's strength is still strong. After all, he has practiced above the imperial realm for many years, while Wang Yangming, Li concubine Qianqian Shangxiu and the others have just stepped into this realm. If any of them faced Yamian alone, they would be defeated in less than a minute. With the three of them together, the effect would be better, but they wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Soon. About 5 minutes later, Yamian launched his strongest attack and directly knocked back Wang Yangming and the others. Immediately afterwards, he pursued the victory, bang bang bang, struck out with 3 palms. Wang Yangming and the others fell to the ground, vomiting blood, turning pale, and losing the ability to fight. The gap above the imperial realm is also huge. Wang Yangming, Li Feixuan, and Qian Shangxiu can persist until now, which is already very good. He. Seeing this, Yamian sneered, "In the face of absolute power, any conspiracy and trick are useless. I will shut down and kill Su Yang first, and then slowly torture you." Saying that, Yamian made a secret with both hands, planning to close the Tianmen and seal Su Yang to death with it. "Everyone, the time has come. It's time to activate the heaven-destroying formation." At this moment, Wang Yangming suddenly made a sound, like a yellow bell, resounding throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths. His voice can be heard from any corner of the earth. This is the power above the imperial realm, like a god. The land of Zen, Shihan, I received it, and I will treat death as if it were home. Between the mountains and the sea, old man Lishan, I understand that the Taoist dispute is ultimately my concern. Mount Imei, Master Charity, I have received it, and I would like to use my little power to change the overall situation of the world. Bodhi Mountain, Monk Yuan Tong, received, right or wrong, future generations will judge. Lejun Mountain, Jun Wu, received, Su Yang, in this life, I will make a wedding dress for you, because I know that with you here, people from outside the territory will not dare to touch the earth. This is my long-cherished wish in life, and I leave it to you. For a time, people all over the world, waiting for the notification, activated the formation at the same time with an attitude of despising death. Thousands of formations were activated at the same time, and the scene was so terrifying that it shocked everyone. Soon, these formations intertwined vertically and horizontally, forming a huge net that fell from the sky and directly trapped Yamian. Yamian frowned, but before he could react, there were countless sword sounds. Then, streaks of golden sword light came to attack, with astonishing power. Killing formation. What, such a terrifying killing array? Yamian was shocked and said in disbelief, Su Yang actually used the strength of the Emperor Realm to arrange a formation that can hurt the Emperor Realm. His attainments in formations are too terrifying. If my master knew about it, he would definitely be ecstatic and accept him as his direct disciple. Yamian's eyes were cold and he said sternly, "No, Su Yang must die, otherwise my status will be affected. Although this little killing formation can hurt me, it can't trap me no matter what the cost." After the words fell, Yamian finally broke out, and his aura was much stronger than before. Then he opened and closed, rampaging, and finally broke through the sky-defying formation in less than 2 minutes. At the same time, everyone involved in opening the formation died, no one was spared. Shi Han. Lashan Old Man. Charity Master. Hosted by Yuan Tong. You are worry-free. Wu Qingying. These are the ones with names, the ones without names, and more. They knew that activating the formation would lead to a narrow escape from death, but they still did it without hesitation, just to restore peace to the earth. Wang Yangming, you have completely angered me. If so, I will kill you first. And you, Empress Jing Huang, Xian Yuanchengxiu, you are the women Su Yang cares about. I want you to die without a burial. Yamian was injured by the heaven-defeating formation and eventually went berserk. He raised his hand to kill Wang Yangming and the other three to vent his hatred. Boom! But at this moment, Su Yang walked out of the Tianmen, with strength as strong as the abyss and the sea, no weaker than Yamian at his peak. Above the imperial realm. He succeeded, it took less than 8 minutes, and he integrated the memories of 3 generations. Su Yang is now as powerful as he is. Su Yang. When Yamian saw Su Yang, he gritted his teeth and killed him in anger. Yamian, your era is over. Su Yang responded coldly, and then fought with Yamian. The strength of the two was almost the same. They fought back and forth, and the aftermath of the battle rippled around. Boom! 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 Su Yang and Yamian fought from the sky to the ground, from day to night, for 7 days and 7 nights, and finally decided the winner. There is no doubt that Su Yang won. No. Su Yang, you can't kill me. I am a member of the divine organization. My master is in the divine organization and holds real power. If you kill me, there will no longer be a place for you in the universe. After losing his fighting power, Yamian was completely panicked, trying to scare Su Yang with all his might. Unfortunately, Su Yang didn't care and directly killed Yamian. Looking at Yamian who had turned into a corpse, Su Yang said coldly, I said, your era is over. I control the earth today. This place belongs to me and belongs to all the souls born here. No one can decide their life and death. The destruction of the epoch will never happen on earth from now on. After saying that, Su Yang waved his hand and destroyed Yamian's body and soul. Dust to dust, dust to dust, everything is over, the world is settled. After this battle, spiritual energy recovery was fully launched. Ominous, lifted. The imperial realm suppression is lifted. All cultivators can advance without restraint. Suwuji, Suemo, Baiqi, Shangyang, and many quasi-emperors finally got their wish and set foot in the true imperial realm. As for Shi Han, Lashan Old Man, Charity Master, Jun Wu, and others, although their bodies were destroyed, the power of their souls was collected by the heavenly emperor sword prepared by Wang Yangming in advance. Su Yang finally used a secret technique to help them be reborn. The earth has entered a period of peace, and Su Yang, his wife, and children have also found peace. This is the end.